All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. My voice may be a little bit spotty, but we will push through tonight. So, appreciate everybody for being on here, coming in, being attentive, showing up for class tonight. So, tomorrow we do have a Federal Reserve interest rate decision. So, all eyes will really be on the Federal Reserve. So, we do have the Fed getting ready to set us up with a potential interest rate cut. What it looks like, go as we kind of went back and forth. The main thought was that we were going to get an interest rate cut originally, and then that kind of backtrack. So it's actually looking like we are going to get a rate cut tomorrow. So that's a good thing for the markets. I think that initial reaction, I want to take people back though to last year. So I want to go back to last year, particularly I want to go to the month of actually December, right? So last year around this time, actually the same, funny enough, or right around that same date, if you go back to last year, December, we actually had an interest rate decision that came in, and JP stepped to the podium, and then boom, we ended up selling off. It was Wednesday, December 18th. And I think when it comes to the back half of the year, is all about really just the guidance, right? Which I think is just super, super, super duper important. The guidance for next year. So, like last year, the market didn't really like that we were promised rate cuts, more so in the future, kind of the back half of the year, because originally we were expecting rate cuts to actually happen during the earlier part of 2025. So once JP couldn't really promise that, that's when the market sold off. So it came after, realistically, that's when we saw the aftermath of when we sold off here on the S&P 500. But we look comparing it from this year to last year, the SPY, in December was at $600 a share. We're now at 683, where we do have an overhead resistance above 690, right? So that's our top line level right now, $690. So I think that's where we want to pay attention to going into tomorrow. If we do break below 677, I do anticipate that we can come downward, right? So do keep that in mind if we do get below 677. And then you also have here on the QQQ, of course, we do have a couple companies reporting earnings as well. We touched on that earlier, so we won't touch on that tonight. But we also had Qs that have came back and just rallied from 580, and we've made it all the way back to 625 currently. So where we're sitting at, I would be looking like if any downside happens, it's only going to be underneath 618 on the QQQ, and then on the SPY, it's going to be underneath 677. Upside, break over 690 and the SPY be going to 700. So I just want to say that here now. If the SPY gets over that 690, it's pretty much just going to go and kiss 700 after that. And the QQQ, we see a bullish reaction. If it gets over pretty much 626, 627, you're going to be able to see QQQ go all the way back, all the way to the all-time high, and then go ahead and make a move, right? So definitely something that I wanted to make mention of. Um, in the long run, right? Let's talk about in the long run, how does this really benefit? And I want to take a second to actually go back and look at some of the interest rate history wise, just to for those that may not know, right? Exactly, what's taking place. So I want to actually go back to 2022 and I want to talk about the interest rate hikes that we've seen relatively very quickly. So JP and Company, they actually raised interest rates a lot during 2022 and as well 2023. We actually saw five consecutive meetings where we actually got, four consecutive meetings where we actually got 75 basis point moves, right? So in 2022, we took rates up pretty fast. We had to. Rates were sitting at relatively zero. If I was to scroll back a little bit more, everyone knows what happened actually in 2020. So rates sat at zero. Cost of borrowing was essentially very low. And that prompted a lot of the growth that we saw in 2020 and 2021, which is why a ton of stocks, a lot of those hyper growth stocks, fintech companies, anything tech related, for the most part soared. Names like Peloton, right, actually went up to the upside very significantly, very quick. Peloton was one of the names that actually got slaughtered. And you saw a lot of the high growth names actually benefited from interest rates pretty much being at zero. So the main question that one of the main questions is going to be asked tomorrow is what is the long term target, right, for interest rates going to be, right? So that's going to be one of the main questions that actually gets asked tomorrow. So I do keep that in the back pocket. Jerome Powell is not the type of person that is going to telegraph the Federal Reserve's moves, right? So, hold on one second. Reserve.gov. There we go. So I just want to bring this federalreserve.gov real quick. So you can come here to the calendar, FOMC calendar, and then all anything that you want to look at previously. If you want to go back tonight and listen to the previous press conferences, you can. You can actually listen to the one from last year here in December 18th. You got the press conference right there for yourself. So all this information is readily available right there for you on federalreserve.gov. So the company's growth stocks definitely get impacted the most. Bitcoin, any high risk asset is going to get impacted the most. So I want to kind of walk us through what's my ideology. And I did post a little bit of it in the Discord. So let me actually just go to the Discord real quick and actually just really highlight what exactly was I saying. So two things that, with the Federal Reserve, if we don't get a rate cut, I want to talk about the scenario where if we don't get a rate cut, I believe that the market will likely stay flat or very muted, at least while Jerome Powell was speaking at 2:30. After the press conference, though, if we don't get a rate cut, I expect to see a pullback or a dump overnight in the futures. That pullback will likely get bought up on Thursday morning after the market opens. So in the scenario where the market sells off a little bit, I would definitely tell people to be prepared for a nasty intraday reversal. So if we wake up Thursday morning and the Nasdaq is down 1.5% or 2%, and the S&P 500 is down 1%, and we see the Dow Jones Industrial Average down as well, and the IWM, do anticipate and expect a reversal, right? Now, let's say we do get a rate cut. So let's say tomorrow, everything goes smooth. In my opinion, I think the market would love it. I think you'll see the market with a strong push to the upside pretty much almost immediately. And the risky assets will end up catching a bid. Tech names will run and momentum will start to increase. And the VIX will probably go below. You'll probably see the VIX get below 15, right? So that's if everything goes smooth, right? So that's like the best case scenario, number one there. So I definitely want to hammer in if we don't get a rate cut, don't anticipate for the market to just immediately fall. Allow Jerome Powell to step to the podium. And more than likely, after like 3:20, 3:30, the market may try to dump a little bit. If it doesn't, it may dump overnight during the futures, right? During the futures market. So overnight session. So that's kind of my thoughts as far as, what's getting ready to take place right now. The futures are down a little bit, but not really that much. So we're pretty much flat on the futures side for right now. So there's not really too much happening in the after hour session. Some tickers that I want to discuss with you guys, though, here tonight. Let me go through this. First ticker that I want to get with you, want to go over with you guys tonight is Meta Platforms. So if everyone could pull up META, and we'll go solo screen. So Meta, we were talking about it, and I did say that I thought Meta would probably pull back if it did get below the 664, which it did. I did say that I did expect Meta to actually come back down here to 651. So we're actually just a couple dollars away from getting to that level. So you want to watch underneath 651, it's going to pull right back down to 638. I know there was a lot of questions that was asked of me pertaining to Meta as far as what my thoughts were after the initial pop from last week. And I thought that we would actually slide here to the downside. So that's pretty much my thoughts, just short term wise. So I just wanted to provide some coverage on that. Next thing I want to go over is I actually want to cover, let's see here. I actually want to cover Snowflake, right? So let me get Snow real quick. So I know some people had questions on Snow after I discussed it this morning. So two things that I want to run through. So if you go back to September of this year, right? and you're actually looking at September, this would be the first time if we're actually able to this week, right? This weekly candle will close on Friday. This would be the first time that you can actually see this name get below 220 cents realistically August, right? So if we do break and stay below 220, I anticipate that we come all the way back down to 211. So if the market, let's say that we don't get that rate cut and the market sells off, you could best bet that Snowflake will be pulling back down. So ticker SNOW looks like we're going to be rotating out of there. So I definitely will be looking for that to be coming here to the downside. SNOW Snowflake, looking for them to pull back here on the downside. So those are my thoughts on Snow. Netflix, once again, get Netflix here. NFLX, same thing that I've said before, but just a reiteration. On Netflix right now, you have a 4 hour and a 1 hour bear flag. So there's a bear flag pattern here on Netflix. So as we're getting below 95, unfortunately, which is just the reality, but it sucks, right? Netflix is not going to move, of course, the same way that it used to, right? So every dollar is equivalent to about $10 of Netflix, how it used to move, right? Because they did a 10-to-1 split, right? So now you're looking at a $960 company, which is disguising itself by having this $96 because they did the 10-to-1 split. So if we do get below 95, I would definitely tell you to look out for 94.18 and then 92.75. So you got a bear flag pattern. Netflix is not done falling yet. So if we break the bottom of this bear flag at 95.68, it's likely that Netflix will pull back down some more. All right. Next ticker, another N ticker, but it'd be NVDA, NVIDIA. We still shot up overnight to 191. It's still holding right now here at this 183.88 level. So ticker NVDA is still holding on by a thread and needle up here at the peak point at the top. So the floor continues to be 174 and 169. So if at any point you see NVDA get below that 169, we're going to pull back further all the way to 160.97 and then 152.89. So I know I made a excuse me. I know I made a statement the other day where I pretty much highlighted to people that I'm anticipating and expecting um, Nvidia and just other semiconductor stocks to pull back within the next 6 to 12 months of just giving us like a 20 to 35% pullback. And, when you take a look at everything that was added, the one thing that I want to speak to, everything that was added to the market this year, right? Especially from April, you virtually really haven't seen any profits really be taken outside of the November little drawdown that we saw and immediately kind of got bought back up, especially for most tickers. So you haven't really seen no pullbacks. So I just want to, once again, I just want to put that in the back of people's minds so people understand like, hey, a pullback would definitely be a good thing. Even tickers like ASML, which was $600 a share, the semiconductor space dominated the last 6, 7 months here in the year. So you do want to pay attention there. I want to touch on something that I spoke on earlier in the session just now. Meta Platform is actually down $4.50 here overnight. So they're hitting at 651 as we speak. So keep your eyes on the futures. Tomorrow, volume in the morning will probably be a little bit weaker outside of any major news that comes out, but more than likely we won't see any more movement really until the Federal Reserve comes out and does their thing. Next ticker is ticker BA. So let's cover Boeing. So ticker Boeing right now, you need to be watching this 196 level. I want you guys to look at ticker BA. Right underneath 196, Boeing is going to pull back all the way to 194 and then 193. So they had a DT actually here, not Donald Trump, but we had a double top right here that took place at 206. So the first top got made and the second top is actually getting hit right now. So we made a DT. So as we break below 197 and come below, we'd be looking pull back a bit further, right? So ticker BA. expecting more of a downside action and move. So my thoughts on that. Next ticker, Marvel. Oops. So Marvel Technology. I was asked about this ticker a few times from quite a few people, so I wanted to actually do some live things with it. Hold on 1 second. Go to this monthly time frame real quick. So 1 second, do I have Marvel pulled up here? Here's some accurate numbers before I start speaking. All right, so we got these numbers pulled up here. Actually, Marvel sits right here right now with a 30 price to earnings ratio. So Marvel's actually, even though Marvel, I would like this name to still be cheaper. I was had a few conversations today. Like nothing right now is trading at a, for the most part, I'm not going to say everything, but for the most part, majority of tickers are trading at a premium, not a discount. So I think that's important to understand and to understand what a discount looks like. And nothing is, for the most part, is trading at any real discounts. Um, Even cryptocurrency stocks, right? Coinbase and MicroStrategy, right? I know some people look at MSTR and say, well, damn, and MicroStrategy was just in the 300s and now it's pulled back here. Even MSTR is not trading at a discount because even leverage names, leverage names tend to trade pretty much overvalued for the most part, right? Like they trade at higher prices, usually more often than what they should. So I wanted to make mention with Marvel here, got a 1 year estimate of 115. Ideally, on this next pullback that's about to come and happen here, ideally, I want to tell you guys to actually go ahead and pick up Marvel. I want to give you the levels actually here on Marvel actually tonight. So there's really no question on where you should be looking, right? So Marvel currently right now, the level that you would probably want to get Marvel at, I would say roughly around like $60 would probably be ideal for you. That would probably make the most sense for you to go ahead and get Marvel. So $60 a share. $60 would make probably the most sense for you to be able to get Marvel, right? So uh, I think I would stress $60. $60 a share. Where it'll probably face a little bit of support will be right here at 71. But it just ultimately just depends on when it actually comes down here. If it the longer it starts to, if we get to March, that number changes to 80 and 81. So that's my thoughts on Marvel. A lot of people asking me questions about it. So just wanted to cover uh, a ticker that's pretty hot right now as far as people wanting to ask questions. So going through the tickers first, really that where the most questions lie and the most questions are being asked. One name that I will highlight is Apple. Apple is still holding on. But I want to show you guys a couple things here on Apple. Microsoft MSFT continues to trade below 500. So until that really breaks, but I wanted to show you something here with Apple because Apple's about to come back here and test their trend line. So we're actually getting ready to hit the trend line on Apple. Potentially, maybe tomorrow we may test it. We'll see. Currently, right now, that trend line is getting a bit closer right here at 275. So you should set an alert for 275 on Apple. If we end up breaking underneath 275, I believe that you're going to end up seeing Apple pull downward all the way back to 266. Right. So underneath 275, that would not be good for the QQQ. I'll tell you that right now. And then as well, if Nvidia is pulling back down below 180, it's likely that you're going to see a more movement to the downside. Let me pull up MSFT real quick because we got the QQQ. Remember that level is 618, so you need to have 618 right there on your chart. So let me show you here with MSFT. Still no clear break above 493 right now. So MSFT is still within this channel right now where it's not really broken lower nor higher, right? So the more times that MSFT hits its head right here, the easier it's going to be to pull back down. Last time I pulled back down to 480, if we break underneath 480 on Microsoft, price will probably go to about 467, right? So Apple and Microsoft still not showing, not a lot of strength. So you got Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia still not really able to pull themselves upward. Now we did have Google, which pretty much ran and took the market up by the upside. Google's hanging on by a thread, trying to still stay within this bull flag, but underneath 315, we'll just say now it's going back to 306 right here on Google. So Google had better stay within this flag. Otherwise, it'll be going for a quick nap and it'll be coming back down here to the early 300 levels again, right? So Google definitely will be very important because a lot of the momentum that we saw in the market came from them. So they have to stay upright in order for the overall market to stay up, right? So for the QQQ, pay attention to those levels. And then as well, if we can see Google, right, please allow Google to actually get above and stay above this 315. Because if that doesn't happen, so you got Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, all trying to fight and stay above these levels right now. Right. So those are my thoughts on that. Next ticker is Broadcom, ticker AVGO. Right now, Broadcom is at 406. Yes, hold on. Yeah, 406. Right. So ticker Broadcom, you could take this down, and this is purely for long-term investing purposes. What I'm about to say for them. So I need to pull this up real quick. Broadcom is going to go to 1,000 again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you guys here that right now, but I'm going to give you guys the prices and the levels when Broadcom pulls back again. This is the price and the levels that you actually want to go ahead and get, right? So you want to get Broadcom at 270, well, really 260 to 280. That's going to be the price. And really the level that I already am thinking about, I want to say it's at 282. Yep, it is. Yep, 282. You know these charts. You got to know these charts. So 282 is, yep, that's from August. Yep. So the next time that Broadcom pulls back, when it goes to 282, that probably will end up being close to the bottom. I'm not going to say the exact bottom, but that probably end up being close to the bottom. So Broadcom, 282 will probably be as far as it goes, in my opinion, right? You want to take advantage of Broadcom because they are going to go back to $1,000 a share. AVGO, business continues to churn for them. They actually stepped to the docket to report their quarterly earnings as well 2 days from now. So it'll be Thursday after hours. So Thursday after hours, we will get an opportunity to go ahead and hear from ticker AVGO. Broadcom actually did a split before. They did a 10-to-1. If they never had done that 10-to-1 split, they would be a $4,000 company. So just keep that into perspective for people here. Had they not done their recent split, they would have been trading at $4,000 a share right now. So it is good that they did that split. But yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys here right now, it's going back to 1,000 over these next few years, the way that this business model's been running. So tons of good stuff happening here. Excited to hear from them. So AVGO continues to be a leader, and they've climbed up the leaderboard, right? Like AVGO is now, Broadcom is now top. I remember when Broadcom was sitting on the outside looking in at the top 10. Broadcom has found themselves in the same conversation with Apple, Nvidia. It's absolutely incredible. Amazon, they passed Amazon, right? As far as asset allocation in the NASDAQ. Who would have thought that, right? So Broadcom has done it. So incredible move for them. You just do nothing but take your hat off to them, and they got to continue to push. So that's really my thoughts on them, and really the bulk there. Coinbase, let's touch on Coin, ticker COIN, Coinbase. And then you have Cano, which is their 2X levered ETF, right? So ticker Cano, 2X levered ETF, COIN, right? And then you have for Coin and then CONL, right, for Cano. So if you're looking at Coinbase, you're looking at, like, I want to stress this with like any crypto stocks right now. I know some people are looking at the crypto stocks, MicroStrategy, Coinbase, and thinking that this is a discount. It's not. It's a pullback, and it's a nasty one. I want to say that. But these things are not really trading at really discounted levels yet. So I do want to tell people to refrain from buying. right? I do want to tell people to refrain from buying Coinbase, refrain from buying MicroStrategy just quite at these levels, right? Allow these names to still bleed more. Ideally, with Coinbase, I think there's going to be a chance for you to get it at 160, 180. And I think with MicroStrategy, you're going to be able to get it at $100, right? I'm very confident that level is going to actually end up materializing. And a lot is going to obviously be focused on BTC, right? The only way that that actually happens is if Bitcoin gets below 80K and goes to 74,000, and maybe you get it to about 66 or 60K, right? So on BTC, right? Very, 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 very important, right? Very, very, very important, right? So super, super, super duper important, right? So now, we are going to have to ultimately make something, make something shake here. So you got, MSF, TR, BTC, Cano, right? So Cano, $9 to $12. That's where you should be looking to get that. So just wait on Coinbase. Trust what I'm saying that these assets are going to come down more, and just wait. Don't rush into these things yet. You haven't really seen true blood in the market. There's been certain areas that have pulled back, but not a ton, right? Majority of everything is trading at a premium. Now, one thing that surprised me today, I'll be remiss if I did not cover this, but it's JPM. I had to cover this today because I couldn't believe what I saw. I had to wipe my eyes for a second because I couldn't believe that JPM was down $14 today. I was like, whoa, what happened here? So, um, one of the things that they warned was higher spending. So this was more so a JP Morgan thing, not a bank thing altogether, but this was particularly isolated just to them. So when I seen it, I was like, okay, I was like, oh man, if JPM was down 14, I was thinking Goldman Sachs was down 30 or 40. But then I just had a sigh of relief once I seen that, okay, it was more so a JP Morgan thing, right? So anytime I see JPM down $14, I'm a bit nervous, right? So, but today was one of the exceptions to the rule because they more so, it was to themselves, right? So I did want to cover that in case anybody's seen that, um, just so you knew what exactly happened. So it was a guidance thing. They guided that they would be spending more money, and you know, investors don't really like that. So that's why JPM was down almost 5% today. So just wanted to cover that really quickly there, so everyone knew what was happening in that regard. All right. So now you have PLTR, next ticker on the docket. So Palantir is actually up. What is this? $4 after hours right now in the overnight session. Yes, $4 after hours. PLTR, which is, if you put Palantir as well up there with Tesla, I mean, these are two of the most highly volatile names that we have on the street. So when you do take a look at Tesla, currently right now at 445, Tesla sold off yesterday because of a downgrade rating that actually came in. Palantir, if the Fed ends up cutting interest rates tomorrow, you can imagine that Palantir, and funny enough, they had a bull flag going into close, so no wonder they're up after hours. Palantir and Tesla both, to me, will run tomorrow if we do end up seeing a rate cut. So do keep that in mind. If we do get an initial pop, these would be two of the names that probably more than likely end up popping. All right. Next thing to cover, let's cover the ARK ETF, ARKK. This bad boy over here. Same pattern right now here as Palantir. No surprises there. Palantir is in this ETF. But if we do break over 84, it's likely that the ARK will continue to keep running. So keep your eyes on the ARK ETF. When we get back down below 78, we'll likely pull back down. Right. So those are my thoughts on the ARKK ETF on the ARK right now. So that's all I wanted to really touch on there. Next thing. Right. What time is it? 9:13. Went over the indexes already. NVIDIA, currently just go to my list. A few more things before we get off. So GEV actually went up after hours. This is one that we actually talked about after on a watch list this week. And it's funny to see it up actually after hours, $36 a share, ticker GEV. So when you do look at GEV, they're up about $5, 5%, a little over 5%. They doubled their dividend and they lift their outlook. So they gave some good guidance. But if you're looking at GEV, I told you that it'd be going to $1,000 a share. They're actually sitting in a massive bull flag here on the weekly and the monthly time frame. So once we crack 674, GEV is going to be taking this move very quickly, in my opinion, to 750 and 800. So do add this to your watch list if you don't have it on already. Once it breaks this bull flag, which is may happen, hell, may happen tomorrow. Um, but yeah, it was funny because we were just speaking about this on a watch list, and then boom, here we go. So that's my thoughts on GEV. I seen that after hours, so I wanted to cover that. Um, so that's pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much the bulk of everything. Tomorrow we'll see exactly what happens. Uh, when we go ahead and had this Federal Reserve interest rate decision as far as reaction. So we'll be live again, and we'll go over it tomorrow night and see exactly what happens. But any signals or anything to do during that time, we'll make sure that we put it in the Discord. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and get some rest up, so we're ready to go for tomorrow. So just wanted to keep this short and brief. At least come on for this evening. If you missed the announcement, we did put this in the schedule tab. So next week, 14th, all the way to the 16th, Sunday to Tuesday, we got beginner classes back to the basics. So 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. So it's the same time every night. The classes be recorded and directly dropped in the beginner A to Z videos channel. So if you missed that announcement, we're announcing it here now. So you do have back to the basics, right? 3 classes, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 6 to 7:30. So if you missed that, just saying that here again, so everybody's abreast. Other than that, I appreciate you guys.